Have you ever felt like the whole world was busy sprinting forward while you stayed behind, invisible? At Tesla's sprawling Gigafactory in Austin, Texas, the night shift told a different story. While engineers, designers, and executives slept, the halls came alive with the soft buzz of machines cleaning themselves and a small team of custodians making sure innovation would start on clean floors every morning. Among them was Grace Johnson, a 48-year-old woman who had spent the last 5 years working nights. To most, she was just the cleaning lady, the kind who arrived precisely at 10 p.m., pushed her supply cart between the high-tech assembly lines, and clocked out just before dawn. Grace didn't mind. After all, she'd lived much of her life in the background. Few at Tesla knew Grace had once studied electrical engineering at Georgia Tech. Dreams of becoming a systems designer had filled her heart until life, and the need to raise 2 younger brothers after her parents passed, had forced her to leave school. She never spoke of it. Those dreams, she figured, were relics. Until one night when a simple glance changed everything. It was 2:12 a.m. Grace was polishing the polished concrete floors near a restricted zone, battery assembly 4. A door, usually shut tight, stood ajar. Her habit was to never leave a room half cleaned. She stepped in quietly. Inside, on a pedestal, was a prototype battery module. Screens flickered around it, flashing numbers and thermal diagrams. Grace didn't mean to look. But something caught her eye, a heat map glowing too red along one side, an asymmetry that shouldn't be there. Her mind, sharp despite years of disuse, noticed it instantly. She stared a moment longer, the training of long-forgotten courses whispering back, thermal variance, current leakage, design flaw. Was it the cooling channels? Misalignment? Acting on instinct, Grace tore a scrap from a supply invoice, scribbled 4 words on it: coolant flow misbalance, check left module, folded it, and slid it under a laptop beside the battery station. The next night, the prototype was gone. She thought nothing would come of it. Maybe someone tossed her note. Maybe nobody noticed. Until a few nights later, when everything changed. At 3:03 a.m., Grace returned to battery assembly 4, mop in hand, expecting the usual silence. Instead, sitting casually in a swivel chair by the new prototype, was Elon Musk himself. Wearing jeans, sneakers, and a worn hoodie, he looked more like a software engineer pulling an all-nighter than the CEO of Tesla. Grace froze, unsure whether to back away or apologize. "You must be Grace Johnson," Elon said without turning. Grace's voice caught in her throat. "Yes, sir." He swiveled the chair to face her, holding up the scrap of paper she had left. Her scrawled message stared back at her: coolant flow misbalance, check left module. "You wrote this?" he asked. Grace nodded hesitantly. I noticed something. I didn't mean." "You were right," Elon interrupted, a faint smile playing at the corner of his mouth. "The misbalance you caught would have caused a 15% efficiency drop and possible thermal failures." Grace's heart thudded painfully in her chest. "Why didn't you say anything?" he asked. She lowered her gaze. "I'm just the cleaning staff." For a moment, Elon said nothing. Then he stood and tucked the paper carefully into his back pocket. "Not anymore." Grace blinked. "Meet me tomorrow," he said. 10 a.m. Main entrance. "Bring nothing but yourself." Before she could respond, Elon was already walking away, his sneakers whispering across the polished floor. Grace stood frozen, mop in hand, her mind swirling faster than the machines around her. That morning, sleep was impossible. She stood in front of her closet, staring at a row of worn t-shirts and jeans. Finally, she chose a simple navy blouse and the least faded pair of pants she owned. Her fingers trembled as she tied her hair back neatly. The Texas morning sun seemed too bright as she made her way to the Gigafactory's main entrance, not the side entrance she'd used for years, but the front where visitors and executives came through. "I have a meeting," she told the receptionist, her voice shaking. "Name?" "Grace Johnson." The receptionist blinked, tapped her keyboard, and looked up, wide-eyed. "You're on Mr. Musk's schedule." Conference room 5, top floor. Here's your badge. She handed Grace a visitor's pass and smiled. Good luck. The elevator ride felt endless. Grace smoothed her blouse, willing herself to breathe. When the doors opened, a young assistant was waiting. Ms. Johnson? This way, please. The top floor was sleek and minimal, all glass, light, and energy. Inside Conference Room 5, Elon stood at a whiteboard littered with rough sketches and technical equations. When Grace stepped in, he turned and smiled warmly. Good. Right on time. Let's talk about what you saw. For the next 30 minutes, Grace answered his questions, hesitant at first, but soon more steadily. Cooling channel design, flow dynamics, thermal stress tolerances, concepts she hadn't spoken about in decades flowed back like long-lost friends. Finally, Elon leaned back, studying her. You think like an engineer, he said. You just need a chance to remember that. He tapped the whiteboard thoughtfully. I'm launching a new internal development program. Technical training for unconventional talent. People who think differently. People like you. Grace's mouth opened, then closed. Was he serious? Will you join? Elon asked simply. Tears burned the corners of her eyes. Yes. He grinned. Welcome to the team, Grace. And just like that, everything changed. The training program was a whirlwind. Grace found herself surrounded by brilliant, eager minds, mostly in their 20s, fresh from prestigious universities. They rattled off technical jargon like it was a second language. They discussed autonomous driving algorithms, next-gen battery chemistry, and AI-optimized manufacturing. At first, Grace felt like a relic in a museum of the future. Her hands were rougher, her body slower. She hadn't coded a line or solved a system differential equation in decades. Every day felt like trying to jump onto a speeding train with worn-out shoes. But Grace refused to back down. She stayed late, studying training modules long after others left. She scribbled notes in margins, asked questions that sometimes embarrassed her. She relearned circuit analysis, thermal modeling, and control system fundamentals. Bit by bit, the knowledge came back. It wasn't easy. Most nights, she collapsed into bed, exhausted and questioning if she belonged. The other trainees didn't know her story. Some were kind, others dismissive. Why is the janitor in our program? She overheard once in the cafeteria. She let the comment sting, then fade. One evening, as she reviewed a complex cooling system schematic, Grace noticed something odd. A subtle loop in the design, a feedback redundancy that could trap heat instead of dispersing it. She wasn't sure. But her gut told her something was wrong. Instead of doubting herself, she recreated the entire subsystem in simulation software, adjusting the design to smooth the flow. Her results showed a 7% improvement in thermal dissipation. Nervous but determined, she presented her findings to her assigned mentor, an intense systems engineer named Marcus Lin. He scanned her work, skeptical at first. Then his eyebrows lifted. Where did you learn to spot this? He asked. Old textbooks. And experience, Grace said quietly. Marcus leaned back in his chair, studying her. This is real engineering. Not just theory. The next day, Grace's redesign was tested on a prototype battery pack. When the module ran 10 degrees cooler under peak load, word traveled fast. Suddenly, the janitor wasn't invisible anymore. 1 week later, Grace was invited to an innovation roundtable hosted by Elon himself. She almost said no, fear gnawing at her. But a quiet voice inside urged her forward. The conference room buzzed with top engineers, executives, and Elon at the head of the table. When Grace walked in, conversations paused for a heartbeat. Elon smiled and gestured to a seat. Throughout the meeting, discussions swirled around battery advancements, AI algorithms, production bottlenecks. Grace listened, soaking in every word. And then, when Elon posed a question about scaling the new cooling system design, Grace found herself raising her hand. Her voice shook at first, But her point was sharp, her logic sound. Heads turned. Even the senior engineers nodded thoughtfully. Elon grinned. After the meeting, he approached her privately. "Sharp instincts," he said. "We need more people who see what others miss." Then, leaning in slightly, he added, "I've got something in mind. A special team. Quiet problem solvers. Would you be interested?" Grace could barely breathe. "Yes," she whispered. And with that simple word, Grace Johnson's second life truly began. The special team was codenamed Project Horizon. It wasn't listed on any official Tesla documents. It operated out of a small, converted storage space deep within the Gigafactory. No fancy posters, no buzzwords. Just bare concrete floors, whiteboards crowded with scribbles, and minds eager to solve what others overlooked. Grace wasn't just a member of Project Horizon. She helped build it. She and Elon personally selected the first recruits, the warehouse worker who redesigned a conveyor system in his spare time, the junior coder who caught an overlooked software bug, the maintenance tech who hand-built a thermal sensor out of scrap parts. Credentials didn't matter here. Insight did. Each day, the team tackled stubborn engineering problems that had been shelved or ignored. Every small win built momentum. By month 3, word about Horizon spread. Senior engineers started forwarding gnarly issues to them, quietly, off the record. Elon stopped by often, sometimes just to brainstorm wild ideas. "You're building something bigger than fixes," he told Grace one evening. "You're building a new way to listen." Grace smiled, still not quite used to the idea. 6 months after that fateful night, Grace stood backstage at Tesla's annual leadership summit. She wore a simple black dress and sensible shoes, her visitor badge replaced by an official Tesla lanyard. In her hand was a small, folded piece of paper, the one she'd left under the laptop that started it all. When the MC called her name, the auditorium roared with applause. Grace stepped into the spotlight, heart pounding. She took a deep breath. "I was never supposed to be here," she began. The crowd hushed. "I came to Tesla not with a resume from Stanford or MIT, but with a mop cart. I cleaned the rooms where ideas were born, but for a long time, I thought I had no right to join them." She paused, voice steady. "But one night, I left a note. 4 words. And someone named Elon Musk, listened." She unfolded the crumpled piece of paper and held it up. Sometimes, all it takes to change a life is to notice the invisible. To hear the voice that's been silent too long. The standing ovation was immediate. Later that night, Elon found her backstage. "You changed more than one battery module," he said. "You changed the way we build Tesla." Grace smiled through tears. "We changed it together." As the night ended, she pinned her note on the whiteboard inside Project Horizon's lab, next to a new plaque Elon had installed that read, "Founded in silence. Powered by curiosity. Open to all." Some stories don't end with a standing ovation. They end with quiet moments, a janitor remembering how to dream, a company remembering how to listen. If Grace's story taught us anything, it's that genius can come from anywhere. Age, background, or job title don't define potential. Curiosity does. Courage does. Believing in a whisper of a possibility does. If you ever feel unseen, unheard, or underestimated, remember this. One note. One moment. One act of courage. It can change everything. Recommended reading. The Second Mountain by David Brooks. A profound exploration of how true fulfillment often begins not with climbing the ladder of success, but by embracing a deeper purpose. Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance by Angela Duckworth. A powerful study on how determination and resilience often matter far more than innate talent. If Grace's journey resonated with you, maybe it's time to pick up these books, and maybe, just maybe, leave your own note behind. Your next chapter is waiting.